City Council, Tuesday, February 15th. Please stand for our invocation led by Pastor Josh Barkman, Christ Presbyterian Church, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, you alone rule over all the cosmos. All life comes from you. You spoke our world into existence. You've given all things their purpose, value, and function. Your word tells us that all authority, all power are made by you, given by you, points us back to you, and should be wielded in service and love for all your image bearers, all people, and to your glory. I pray that this is a conscious conviction of each council member. We therefore ask that rejection of you becomes more and more prominent in our land and in our city, we'd ask that you hold us all accountable for our actions as one shepherd to others, praying for others. Impress upon us your eminence, that you draw close, that you are the living and true God. Impress upon Mobile and our leaders that we're held ultimately accountable not to ourselves or our culture, not even by the next generation, but by the living and true God of the Bible who sees all, knows all, and judges our inmost thoughts. Let justice and righteousness, characterized by you and your word, reign in our city again. That you'd raise up the people of this city, not to ask how we can use any one of ourselves for our own gain, but as we Mobilians care and love for each other. Help us to take care of each other, regardless of religion, race, class, or sexuality. Forgive us, therefore, for our indifferences towards each other. Give us hearts that will put hands to heart. Bless each councilman and woman with wisdom from you, a clean conscience, dedication to loving our beloved city, and skill and craft in their endeavors. Lord, we still remember Councilman Manzi and Judge Sherling. We mourn their loss, and we pray that you draw close to their families. May their legacies compel us to humble service. We thank you for our mayor, for our chief of police. Bless them all in their work. I pray you continue to protect all of the families represented here. But Lord, lastly, forgive us our many sins. Forgive us only through Christ's atoning work on the cross 2,000 years ago. Forgive us for our cold hearts, our laziness, and our gossip, for dishonoring each other, but grant us renewal by your Holy Spirit to love and dignify all. All glory be to Christ, King of kings and Lord of lords, in whose name I pray. Amen.
Roll call, President Small.
Here.
Vice President Gregory.
Here.
Councilmember Penn.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Here.
Councilmember Reynolds. Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, we would like to welcome everyone to our Tuesday, February 15th, 2022 Mobile City Council meeting. At this meeting, we do have rules. The first rule, I ask that if anyone has any type of electronic device at this time, please put it on the off or the vibrate position. The off or the vibrate position. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, the ordinance, appeal, a public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, the speaker must state his or her name and address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk office no later than 2:00 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject that he or she wishes to address must be identified and pertain to the city of Mobile business. Any person who has not given proper notice to the city clerk office and wishes to speak on a non-agenda item would not be allowed to do so. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to address the council. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 2 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. The second bell indicates your time has expired. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council members. All statements are to be made to the chair, who will recognize any council member who desires to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and/or public outcry allowed. Madam Clerk.
Approval of minutes of February 8th.
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning. Good to see everybody here this morning. Appreciate you coming. Last Friday, the executive director of the city of Mobile had an opportunity to go to the University of South Alabama and meet with the new president, Joe Bonner, and his leadership team, where they gave us a presentation on all the impacts, the positive impacts that South Alabama has on the city of Mobile. It's amazing. I think we all know some of what they do, but few of us know all of what they do. And so being able to experience that was very rewarding. And we are really excited about the opportunity working with President Bonner and South Alabama to continue to collaborate together as we move the city and the university forward. Also last Friday, the Public Works team, some staff members, and a few other Mobilians, we joined in a second line right out in front of this building as we went over to Mardi Gras Park. Director Batista and I were at the lead of that procession. But what we wanted to do at that ribbon cutting was really to point out the unsung heroes of Mardi Gras, and that is our Public Works Department and our Police Department. Without those two organizations, really we would not be able to hold Mardi Gras in a safe and orderly fashion. So tremendous gratitude goes out to them. And I would just encourage all citizens during the Mardi Gras season, whether it's a public works employee or a city employee, Mobile Fire Rescue, please stop long enough just telling me thank them for what they do. Sometimes they don't get that the deserved appreciation. But the reopening of Mardi Gras Park was the culmination of a $1.1 million upgrade. $600,000 of that was provided by the Heron Chandler Foundation. And just to give you the background on that, it was Bill Heron, who used to be the editor and publisher of the Mobile Press Register, that put up the first $1 million to have Mardi Gras Park, and this foundation is continuing to support the upgrades to it. Friday Night Live, even though we had a parade, a wonderful parade with the County Cavaliers Friday night, there was something else going on, and it was part of a quarterly concert series that we have, and it just happened to fall on Friday night. But we had 6 brass bands playing in Cathedral Square, and these brass bands were from 4 different states. I was not there, but for those that attended, said it was just a phenomenal show. And so I want to thank the Parks and Rec organization for organizing that, and we just look forward to what they'll be doing the next quarter. Another item that we participated in last week was the kind of but the opening of Stotts Park after a rebuild of it. Stotts Park is located just south of Cottage Hill Baptist Church. But in this rebuild, we improved it with LED lighting. We upgraded the walking paths. We refurbished the fencing, renovated basketball courts, new playground equipment, upgraded tables and pavilions, new water fountains, grills, and benches. But the most exciting thing for those that were there were the new pickleball courts. We took an old tennis court, which was not being used, and we converted it into 4 pickleball courts. And there were probably 40 men and women there that were playing pickleball, waiting on that ribbon-cutting ceremony. There'll be even more pickleball courts coming in this year. We plan to locate them at Crawford Murphy Park, Hillsdale Park, Seals Park, and Lavretta Park. But there are a lot of citizens that are really excited and continue to play pickleball, And the more courts that we provide, I think you'll just see increased play from across the city. In the area of animal services, they've had a lot of success, especially with their foster and adoption programs. We appreciate everybody that has participated in that, but we're not looking just for fosters, but we're also looking for some permanent homes for our animals. So please, you can go to our website and determine how to engage and participate in that program. Or you can contact them, and the address is animalshelter@cityofmobile.org. Mr. President, that concludes my remarks.
Mr. Mayor, you had stated earlier that you and Director Baptiste had let out the second line. Who out second line who?
I'm not going to answer that.
Madam Clerk.
Adoption of the agenda.
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda is adopted.
Appeals, we have requests for a waiver of the noise ordinance on July 16th in Tricentennial Park, March 19th on Marine Street, July 30th and 31st in Cooper Riverside Park, June 17th on LaSure Road, April 16th in Melavana Park, and March 5th through the 6th in Melavana Park.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved and second in the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Appeals pass.
Public hearing today is a public hearing to consider the application of Ruby Smith doing business as Sure Transportation to operate a shuttle service.
This open up the public hearing for this particular item. If anyone present may do so by addressing the council at the top of the stairs at the podium by giving us your name and your address. If anyone present for this particular hearing. If not, this particular hearing is closed.
Public hearing to rezone property located at 1452 Government Street from R3 to B1.
If anyone here present to speak on this particular public hearing may do so by addressing the council at the top of the podium, on top of the stairs at the podium. If not, this public hearing is closed.
Public hearing to rezone property located at 4251 Bittensburg Road from R1 to R2.
This open up the public hearing for this particular hearing that was just said. If anyone present, you may do so by addressing the council. Yes, sir. Remember, state your name and your address.
Richard Inge, 4110 Ridge Lawn Drive in Spring Hill. I'm here. We're the developer of a property on Bittensburg Road at 4251. We have just closed on it. And we're doing a new high-end development with 12 lots, and we need the R2 zoning to make our lots work. And I was really here to see if anybody here had any questions. I can kind of paint a picture of it if you'd like, but I didn't know if I could field any questions from anybody.
Any questions from the council or comments? If not,
Well, let me add, when we had our planning commission, we had a few adjacent neighbors that came in here with some concerns. We've addressed those, for example, with 8-foot privacy fences, with no floodlights in the rear. They had concerns about drainage, which we've gone above and beyond. We're going to be fully contained on the drainage. And we did get a letter from the Sisters of Mercy next door, which is the adjacent property owner, of support, and a letter across the street from Feather Your Nest, which is currently a commercial property, in support of the deal. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, there's no opposition, but I just wanted to come here and address the council, see if I could field any questions. Otherwise, we're excited about the project. We've got a lot of interest. It's going to be a great long-term deal for people that there's a high demand for the baby boomers looking for houses to downsize, which is kind of what we're catering to. But we appreciate your support, and if you have anything else for me, that'll do it.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone is present would like to speak on this particular hearing. If not, this public hearing is closed.
Public hearing to declare structures at 1057 State Street, 1481 John H. Campbell Senior Way, 212 Norman Street, 1110 Guyman Circle West, public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
Is anyone present to speak on any of these said items? If so, you may do so by addressing the council at the top of the podium by stating your name and your address, please.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Odom. And we'll come to talk about the property at
Your address,
12
please.
Excuse me?
Address. Your address, please.
1325 Congress Street, I'm sorry. And same.
Thank you.
So we come to talk about the property at 212 Norman Street. It's supposed to be
Norman.
here for demolish. The property, the grass and everything has been cut. I was told that the day the environmental lady came out, the grass got cut the next day because it usually gets cut every 2 weeks by the man that lives next door. But we have some grass that's growing up in the back because behind the property, the young men in the neighborhood had a garden, so they got that up there for most of the grass. But pertaining to the house, we have supplies and everything in the house to start to get fixed on. My cousin, Tony Jones, has a house on Lola Street. He bought the 2 properties there, and he fixed on one. He's living in that one. He's fixing on the other one, so he has all the supplies and stuff in that house, which is my aunt's house, right, George Jackson. And I'm speaking on her behalf. So we were trying to get it fixed, but we were trying for the last few years when the money came back that the council said was allocated to District 2 under Mr. Manz's administration. We were trying to get some monies to will help to try to repair the property, which is a house and then it's a lot next door. And we do keep the grass cut. If we have to go put tarps up, we were trying to just wait till that money came, but we didn't qualify for it last time. So before he passed, he said, well, the next month, y'all just try to get it again. So we will try to make repairs or whatever. But they said that, I believe somebody just wants that particular property on that street, really, because there's other properties that are way worse off than that property, and they have no more notices or anything.
So you want to ask the council for more time, or what you ask for?
Yes, for more time.
How much time are you asking for?
I don't know right now because my cousin's out of town. I know he'll be back for Mardi Gras, and he had said that he was going to start doing some work on it, get somebody to start doing some work on the house.
Let's hear from the gentleman right there to your left. Doc.
Mr. President, David Dockenbaum, Deputy Director of Municipal Enforcement. The structure has problems with the roof, exterior wall, and foundation. And what we need from the property owner is to apply for a building permit to begin the repairs, but also give municipal enforcement a construction management plan. When they're going to hit the milestones, how they're going to repair the roof, how they're going to repair the foundation. Once that's submitted, then we can step back. Now, we can go 60 days from today and table this and hold it over to allow for the property owner to get that permit and submit that information to municipal enforcement.
Let's hear from the district representative and see what he would like. Carol?
I'm fine with that, Tracy. I know that area pretty well. Kind of getting tired of seeing all the historic properties over there pushed to the ground. But however, that house is in major disrepair. You're going to need a set of architectural drawings and everything else in order to get through the system. So I'm fine with, matter of fact, I'm fine with the 2 months. But David, if she gets a permit, then the time is extended through the life of the permit for her to get the work done, correct? So, do you understand that, Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I just need to know who you said contact, get the
Well, the permitting office is on the third floor of this building. So that's going to be the first step. The proper homeowner is going to have to apply for the permit. If not the proper homeowner, then it's going to have to be whatever contractor that you have will have to apply for the permit. And that'll start the ball rolling as far as the administration and the department not issuing a nuisance abatement law where the house is ordered to be demolished. And David can explain that to you in detail if you just give him a second after.
Okay, and then another thing I was asking, if we're not able to do whatever with the house, we have the two lots. One of them is already being used as a garden in the back, and if we could get help with the council or whatever, we would make one of the lots a community garden.
That's something to think about, Tracy. I'll be glad to take a look at it for you.
Because they're already using half of one of the lots, as young men are already using it for a garden anyway.
Yes, ma'am. But the biggest thing is I would like for you guys to keep that area really clean, you know, cut, freshed up all the time, all the trash out of there.
Yeah, it is. Okay. We're trying to get it right in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is anyone else present that would like to speak to the council on these particular properties? If not, these public hearings are closed.
Public hearing to consider assenting to the vacation of portions of Pearl, Lyons, Hospital, and Basil Streets. Also, public hearing to consider right-of-way fee for the vacation of portions of Pearl, Lyons, Hospital, and Basil Streets.
Just open up the public hearing for these particular items. If anyone present would like to speak to the council, may do so by addressing the council on top of the stairs at the podium by giving us your name and your address. Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Craig Campbell. I'm here. I'm an attorney at Hand Arundel representing the Alabama Community College System in Bishop State who submitted this petition. My office address is 104 St. Francis Street. Need my home address too?
You fine.
Okay. So we submitted the petition. I think it speaks for itself, but this relates to 4 streets that run through the Bishop State main campus, and particularly Pearl Street, Lyons Street, Hospital Street, and Basil Street, portions of those 4 streets. The Alabama Community College System is the only abutting landowner for 3 of those streets, and the Community College System and the school board are the only 2 abutting landowners for the portion of Lyons Street involved. The school board joined in the petition as well. This request relates to a much larger capital improvement project that Bishop State is undergoing right now, to multi-million-dollar project to enhance the Advanced Manufacturing Technologies program and the Health Sciences program to try to be able to better train up the workforces that are going to be providing labor for the industries in this area and for the healthcare community. So really, I'm just here to answer any questions you guys may have.
Anything from the council? Thank you. Is anyone else that's present?
There was a Chris Enzor here regarding a public hearing. Chris Enzor. Enzor.
Not, these public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Reverend Tony Allgood. Following Reverend Allgood is Reverend Flowers.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Reverend Tony Allgood. I reside at 214A DeSales Avenue, Mobile. I'm the pastor and director of the United Methodist Inner-City Mission, and I'm a tri-chair for the Alabama Poor People's Campaign and on the executive committee for the National Union for the Homeless. I'm here again to speak against the camping ordinance. I don't know whether a lot of y'all are old enough to remember sundown towns. Anytime you want to isolate or degrade a group of people, you move to take away their civil rights and their human rights. Chickasaw was a sundown town. Had a sign out front, and I remember seeing the sign when I first moved to Mobile. It said, "Welcome to Chickasaw, an all-white community. No colored people allowed after dark." Sundown town. Fortunately, many of us here spend our lives fighting against the Jim Crow laws and the sundown town. If this ordinance passes, forcing the homeless outside the city limits of Mobile, Mobile's going to be a sundown town. If this passes, then Mobile needs to own being a sundown town. Do we really want billboards and signs up all around Mobile saying, "Welcome to One Mobile," unless you're homeless, and then you get out of town by dark because Mobile is a sundown town? I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. I hope that the city council will think hard and fast before they pass this ordinance.
Mr. President, my name is Jim Flowers. I am the rector of All Saints Episcopal Church at 151 South Ann Street, 36604. And I just want to briefly add my voice to Reverend Allgood's, and I rise to express my opposition to the proposed ordinance regarding our homeless population occupying public property. Frankly, I was astounded that this ordinance has been presented in the first place. To be sure, homelessness is a daunting problem. It's complicated, it's persistent, and it's frustrating. We at All Saints encounter homeless men and women almost every day. But I have discovered over the last 18 years of ministry that they have names, they have stories, they have people who love them, just like you and me. We know that many of them are veterans, wounded both physically and emotionally during their service to our country. We know that many suffer from mental illness and addiction. These are people in need of care, not punishment. Care, not punishment. These are our poor whom Jesus commanded us to serve. Moreover, Jesus tells us, according to the gospel scribe Matthew, that to serve our least is to serve the Christ himself. Amid all the nuance and ambiguity of Scripture in the Judeo-Christian canon, this mandate is clear, that we take care of our poor and the marginalized. All of the world's religions exhort us to love our neighbor. So I'm here as a priest of the church to remind us that such an ordinance would be morally untenable, and to remind us also that a society, a city, is judged by how it takes care of its poor. We can do better. We are better than this. The irony, of course, is that this ordinance won't solve anything. It will be one more onus on law enforcement whose plates are already full. We are not the only city who faces this crisis. There are many cities across this country who have chosen humane means to face it, providing shelter and food and medical referrals, bathrooms, a place to retrieve mail. It's my understanding that we have received $3.2 million in federal funds for the sole purpose of serving the homeless. The Driftwood Housing Project now has begun in Mobile, and they have some really compelling ideas. I ask that you look into the best practices of other cities who have chosen to treat their homeless with dignity. We won't solve the problem, but we can be humane. That is the least we, the citizens of Mobile, can expect from you, our elected representatives. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Dr. Crystal Lockett-Wilson, and following Dr. Wilson is Robert Clopton.
Mr. President, if I might, just for a moment, and a point of clarification for the two last speakers.
Yes, ma'am.
The ordinance that has been proposed by Mr. Reynolds on urban camping that we have been discussing and that both of you gentlemen spoke to is not on the agenda today and will not be on the agenda until March 8th. However, in the meantime, there is a Public Safety Committee meeting on March 2nd. We will be discussing the ordinance specifically, but also we'll be looking at some information that has been gathered already by the mayor's staff, Ms. Henderson, who has been reaching out to various groups to find out what is happening with our homeless population and where those gaps are. So that information will be shared then. And if you all would like it, I'm sure she will be more than happy to provide that to you and meet with you as well individually if you have not already been meeting with Ms. Henderson.
Mr. President.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I'd also like to make one comment here too. And as many of us know, and has been pointed out numerous times, there is quite a sizable majority, not majority, but probably 30% or so of homeless do have some type of mental health issues. Senate is in session for the state. I would appeal to you to go to that session. Let your voice be heard that we need a facility like Searcy back in the state. We need mental health care long term. We don't have those facilities that we need. I've sent emails as of last week for them to open up those types of discussions. So I would encourage you, I know you've been down here speaking a lot, we need your voice at the state to help provide the care that's needed for this population. Thank you.
Speaking of representations from the state, we do have Representative Napoleon Brayson in the House. Welcome to our meeting.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Crystal Lockett-Wilson. I reside at 6424 Hampton Park Court, Mobile, Alabama. I am here with Dr. Thomas Butler, and we are board members for the Pure Vine Foundation. Our mission is to unite the body of Christ to promote wellness and bear fruit in our communities. When we talk about wellness, we talk about 8 dimensions that are needed for us as individuals to be whole, as well as our community to be whole. Those 8 dimensions of wellness are spiritual wellness, intellectual, emotional, physical, financial, occupational, and environmental wellness. In our mission, we talk about the fruits of the Spirit. Those fruits of the Spirit are found in Galatians 5:22 in the Bible that states it's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. We are here to let you all know what our foundation does, hopefully partner with you, and continue to unite our community to promote wellness and bear fruit in our communities. We have a plethora of activities that we want to do and have done. We have reached out to our city council men and women back in August when you all were busy running for office, and we're unable to reach you regarding an appointment one-on-one to partner. So today we are here physically to tell you about our foundation and to hopefully partner in the near future. We have a wellness carnival on March 19th at Burroughs Elementary School. It will have resources for all of those 8 dimensions of wellness. Every Wednesday, we have a Wellness Wednesday video that is promoted on our social media pages. And we want to see our city councilmen and women talk about their particular dimension of wellness, something that they are inspired, that they can personalize and tell the community how they strengthen their 8 dimensions of wellness. There are so many things that we have planned, and we just want to first and foremost introduce ourselves and hopefully partner with you, starting first and foremost with that Wellness Carnival on March 19th, as well as our Women's Health in June, our Women's Health Month in May, and our Men's Health Month in June regarding our wellness promotions that are coming up. So many things that are left unsaid that we're going to hopefully be able to talk to you one-on-one. But at this time, I'm going to let our other board member, Dr. Thomas Butler, introduce himself, as well as some other things that are on our heart.
Thank you for allowing us to speak, Mr. President. I'm Thomas Butler. I work at the Mitchell Cancer Institute. I do live in Spanish Fork and 10558 Eastern Shore Boulevard. But I joined this mission because of many things I can't say any better than Crystal just said. But the opportunities that I see in my practice, I see there's a lot of opportunity for community and relationship in the care of folks in this community. And basically, think this is a great opportunity to bring community together and to give access to some folks who may not have access.
Yeah, I hate to cut you off, but the 3 minutes has expired. You all can sign up again on our council agenda by rules for each speaker to have 3 minutes. Thank you all so much. We really do appreciate your hard work.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gregory.
I know the time has been cut off, but I can't help but say something about Dr. Butler and his partner, Dr. Wilson. Dr. Butler is my oncologist, and talking about wellness, that is something that certainly goes along with any cancer treatment and maintenance and remission, as anybody who has ever suffered from one of these diseases certainly knows. So I think it's a great opportunity. Wellness is something that we all need to pay more attention to. And the videos that you have, the Women's Month, I am more than happy to get involved and help you in any way I can. And I just appreciate you thinking about this and recognizing that there is a need and bringing this to our attention. So hopefully we'll be able to get some more information out for you all, put it in our newsletters, help you with potential funding, that sort of thing. So just thank you for coming and for being here. And it's always good to see my Dr. Butler. Y'all have met him before, as a matter of fact. When he came down, we did Breast Cancer Awareness Month when I was going through treatment. Remember when the former council wore those pink shirts and gave me the proclamation. So that was a terrific day. So thank you both for coming.
Mr. President.
Hey, Mr. Reynolds.
Yeah, I would ask that y'all send me the information, if you could, regarding the Wellness Carnival down at Burroughs. I'd love to attend that if you could send that over. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Pan.
Thank you, Dr. Butler and Dr. Lockett Wilson, for coming down. I agree with Councilwoman Gregory, that I would like to participate as well for the men. I love to have a one-on-one as well meeting, so I could participate in any way and support. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Robert Clopton, and following Robert Clopton is Dr. Corey Brown.
Good morning. I'm Robert Clopton, 2612 Charlotte Oaks Drive, Mobile, Alabama. To the council, to the administration. The NAACP, who I represent, we call for a plan with at least 53% VAP, majority black voter participation for District 7. According to the 2020 census, the city of Mobile is at a turning point, and in order for equity and fairness for all to be achieved in ways our city has never experienced, the city council district lines have been drawn but must be considered or redrawn to reflect the demographic shift as well as address the city's new African American majority. These new lines must reflect the entire black community, the entire. We applaud the staff, the mayor, on that Thursday morning announcement of Plan 2.8. Plan 2.8 shows a significant improvement. However, it does not satisfy the guaranteed percentage of VAP. in that District 7. The current plan, written as a proposed ordinance today, portrays the District 7, which would contain almost 51% of black voters, but not necessarily 53% share that would facilitate the required demographic change to meet that 53%. Mobile's black voters remain suspicious of Plan 2.8 somewhat due to the fact that they are aware of past and current attempts to disenfranchise our opportunity to gain more potential power, such as displacing thousands of black voters from downtown public housing communities in District 2. This is why increasing that percentage in District 7 is vital. With increased voting power, District 7's black majority will have the power to not only choose a candidate who speaks for what's best for them in West Mobile, but one who can lend their voice to better choices for a more inclusive Mobile that includes I-65 East and I-65 West. As leaders of NAACP, our mission is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights for all people and work diligently to eliminate race-based hatred and discrimination. So I'm urging you councilors to be on the right side of right. Let's do what's right, at the right time, and for the right reasons. Revisit the District 7 line. We're asking all council representatives to relinquish any support of this current map until those requested changes are adhered to. But now it's the time to turn the page in our history. As Philippians 2 and 3 says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. However, in humility, put others above yourselves. Thank you.
Dr. Corey Brown, and following Dr. Corey Brown is Michelle Blake Sims.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Corey Brown, Senior Pastor of the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, District 7, located at 545 Cody Road North. I reside at 7039 Doppel Lane 36695. Early last Thursday, the administration released their proposed redistricting plan. Unfortunately, despite the best efforts of members of the community, it is not much further along than it was when the first draft was released a month ago. But while it is deeply disappointing, it is not surprising because the process has been incredibly flawed from the start, riddled with mistakes, a lack of transparency, and frankly, dismissiveness by too many of our city leaders. First, the much-discussed first draft wasn't a draft. It was a non-starter and a slap in the face to the community and rule of law. As soon as the proposed map was released, it became clear there was no plan in place to allow for any community education or engagement on the proposal. Only when that lack of transparency was exposed, a haphazard set of district and virtual meetings were thrown together. However, as anyone who attended any of those meetings could tell you, the district meetings were little more than a dog and pony show with no true effort to educate attendees on the process and city's obligations and no meaningful opportunity for discussion. Meanwhile, we and citizens from across the city have been coming down here week after week to express our concerns about the process and initial proposal. Instead of being met with a willing audience, more often than not, it appears our comments are dismissed or ignored altogether. When public comment time comes, it often seems as though most council members have urgent matters, forcing them to stare at their phones while the mayor simply gets up and leaves. This meeting happens every week at the same time. It's when the city business is conducted. You would think schedules and emails could be arranged around it. You would think the citizens deserve that much. Unless, of course, it's simply a result of wanting to ignore this topic and our concerns, which it might very well be, seeing that one member of the council actually publicly stated that not only had he decided not to engage with the public, but that he had also urged some of his colleagues not to either. Ignoring the public and our concerns is a negligence of duty, but it has been happening and far too often. And now, just a few moments ago, we learned that our concerns and pleas about finally having fair representation have been so ignored that some want to already take the next step in the fight to undermine the community.
Pastor Brown, I hate to cut you off. We have to get everybody a fair share of 3 minutes and everything. We appreciate you for coming down.
Michelle Sims. Following Michelle Sims is Dennis McFarland.
My name is Michelle Blake Simons. I live at 1106 Savannah Street in Mobile, and I'm going to cede my 3 minutes to Reverend Brown.
I'm sorry, we can't do that.
I'm sorry, why not?
We can't do that. It's council rules. We can't let people share their 3 minutes.
We'll be speaking together.
According to our council rules, that's not allowed.
Can she read the rest of my notes?
She can say anything come out of her mouth, that's fine, but yes, she
I actually can't read the rest of his notes without my glasses. Let me just start by saying that my husband was born and raised here. We are moving down here as newcomers, and I'm falling in love with the city of Mobile. I think it's a beautiful place with amazing people. I love the trees. You've done a great job with the live oaks. And it matters a lot to me that this city take this opportunity to become what it could become, which is a city on a hill with an African-American population, a majority that the city serves justly and equitably, and that this country is desperately in need of this model right now. And if we miss this opportunity, if we don't use our imagination and our intelligence to put this in place, we are missing a huge opportunity. Now I'll continue with Reverend Brown right here. And now, just a few minutes ago, we learned that our concerns and pleas about finally having fair representation have been so ignored that some want to already take the next step in the fight to undermine the community through annexation. This is beyond unacceptable. The city has an obligation to develop and implement a map which finally provides the Black community with fair representation in our city government. The efforts to avoid meeting this obligation must end today. We have several months now to turn this process around and make sure we get the map right. Let's do a racial polarization study to be sure we are doing it right and bring credibility to the process. Let's stop making ridiculous arguments about one or two council members holding back the process and our ability to meet the city's obligations. And let us focus together on the job at hand instead of raising an incredibly divisive issue like annexation at this time. We can do this, and we are hopeful that we as the city will do this, not just for our community, but for the city and the future, and I will add, for the country. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Dennis McFarland, and following Dennis McFarland is Reverend Cleveland McFarland.
I'm Dennis McFarland. I reside at 1106 Savannah Street. I was born and raised in Mobile. When Africans were put into shackles, brought to America, and forced to work without pay, they eventually dared to suggest that they were humans. Sorry, I'm going to have trouble getting through this. Not property. entitled to the same dignities and freedoms enjoyed by white people. Southern whites explained to them that they were wrong. They were indeed property and better off in bondage. In time, Southern whites fought and lost a war in defense of slavery that cost over 600,000 lives. And afterwards, we enacted statutes under the rubric Jim Crow that barred black Americans from white workplaces, restaurants, stores, and public universities. In Mobile, black people weren't allowed to leave their homes after 10 p.m. In time, black people dared to suggest that their children should be able to attend the nice schools that white children attended. But we explained that they were wrong. Even though their schools were unsafe, had inadequate heating and outdated textbooks, and their teachers got paid a fraction of what white teachers got paid. In time, black people dared to suggest that they should be able to sit wherever they liked on public transit and not have to move to the back of the bus. We explained to them that they were wrong, that they needed to stay in their place. To emphasize the point, we set dogs upon them and opened up fire hoses. In time, black people insisted they should be allowed to vote, and we explained again that they were wrong, that they weren't intelligent enough to vote. To show we meant it, we hanged them from the trees in the public square, set fire to their homes, and bombed their churches. In time, when black mothers started the Black Lives Matter movement because they were sick and tired of seeing their children killed disproportionately by the police, we explained to them that they were wrong. Police were only doing their job, and what they ought to be saying was all lives matter. At every one of these intersections from the past, history has proven that black people were right all along. We have a chance to make some history here in Mobile that years from now we can look back on and be proud of rather than ashamed. Isn't it time that instead of explaining to black people how they are wrong, we actually started listening to them? Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend McFarland. Following Reverend McFarland is Barbara Cadell.
My name is Cleveland McFarland, 1525 West Carlisle Drive, Mobile, Alabama. I rose to concur with Dr. Brown and my brother Tony McFarland. Thank you.
Following Barbara Cadell is Reggie Hill.
Good morning, President Small, City Councilors, and Mayor Stimson. My name's Barbara Cadell, and I reside at 1321 Dolphin Street in District 2. I am here today to address agenda item 02-007, the ordinance to reapportion and redistrict the city of Mobile. Redistricting has certainly generated a lot of spirited discussion. We all say that we want fair district maps drawn, but definitions of fairness, as you can see today, vary widely. You have before you version 8 of a district map drawn by the administration, and it's a starting point for discussion. I would caution you to avoid a quick decision. You have, in fact, several months to arrive at a final version of the maps, and I encourage you to take the time to do redistricting right. Here's some small suggestions for doing redistricting right. Please hold the community meetings that were envisaged by the guidelines that you adopted several weeks ago. There have been 8 versions of the district maps, and quite frankly, I have a hard time determining exactly where some of the lines are. So it'd be helpful to have the extra time to learn and assess the maps fairly and straight. The other thing is to conduct a study of voting patterns. You could do a racially polarized, voting study, or another kind of examination by a third party that does not have a dog in the fight, as Mr. Councilman Small has said, that would give us certain things that would be helpful. An examination of this nature could provide impartial and quantifiable information to everybody so that we could all start from the same set of facts. It could delineate the degree of any potential polarization in a specific area, or it could also delineate areas where there's no polarization. Even better, it does not absolutely require that we upend the redistricting. It would provide useful data to evaluate the proposed map. It might bring to light some new information, something that we haven't noticed in our previous examinations. And I might add, there's nothing to say that you can't do a study of voting patterns throughout the county so that when you start redistricting after annexation, if all of this happens, then you'd be prepared. So let's slow down a little bit. Let's get it right. Take the time to conduct a study of voting patterns, hold informational meetings, and carefully consider your decision. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Reggie Hill, and following Reggie Hill is Atias Walker.
Madam Clerk, what the last speaker, what did they sign up on?
Oh, I'm sorry. Reggie Hill has signed up for resolutions 21145, 21146, 6148, 02007, and 6148.
And what about the speaker after Mr. Hill?
37152.
Okay.
And Representative Bracy is following Mr. Walker on 37152.
Okay. Just before Mr. Hill comes, I would like just to let the audience know, and the citizens of Mobile know that I stated in a pre-conference meeting that, after my meeting on last Thursday, and again, I'd like to thank the administration for hosting that meeting, there was still some concerns in asking for a racial polarization study. Yes, according to reading the Zogby Act, that it was asking for a council member to help to sponsor the particular ordinance with the mayor. And I agreed so at the time. Two of my colleagues joined in. I stepped away because of concerns of people that I represent. So therefore, I added in pre-conference a resolution to asking for this council to help to pass this resolution for a third-party consulting company to look at the lines, because as we hear, there's some distrust out there among the city. And so therefore, as the last speaker has stated, I've stated several times, let's get someone as a third party that don't have a dog in the fight to help to console some of our citizens' minds that have some doubts, in this process. I am agreement, we don't have to rush this process because we do have 6 months to act on this. The A word keep on popping up, in pre-council and also in this council meeting. The A word is annexation, and I believe that we should do this correctly. Because if we don't do this correctly, it's still going to bring some doubts in some citizens' minds about if the annexation is done correctly. So on next week, again, we're not going to vote on this ordinance today. We're going to wait till next week. And also the resolution, we're going to wait till next week also. And I asked that my council colleagues, and I'm grateful for the help from the administration, that are willing to help to pay for this process and everything. So that shows that the administration is not trying to hide anything. They're willing to help join in this process and paying for it for a third party to look at, because again, some of our citizens that, we represent have some doubts in their minds that we need a third party polarization, racial polarization study done. And again, I'm willing to do all I can do to help the citizens to calm and ease some of their minds and their concerns. Because as elected officials, we're supposed to be transparent, among the citizens of Mobile. So therefore, I am looking on next week, for this resolution and also this ordinance to appear before us again, but it'll be a bigger and broader discussion, and hope that things are done right. I believe that this is done right. This will help to console and calm some of the citizens' concern, and especially with the concern that may be coming up with annexation. Okay.
Mr. President,
Mr. Carroll.
I'd like to follow you and say openly that I neither will be supporting an annexation attempt until this is done.
Mr. President,
Mr. Penn.
I agree with President Small with the resolution. I stated that in pre-council 6173 that I believe that we need to do that. I also commend the administration for everything they're doing. You know, excuse me, one of the things that I learned is that I'm about being fair, and that's how I roll. That's my mindset. I tell people all the time, Jesus is my Lord and Savior. That's how I move. My faith is important to me. I listen to every speaker. I think it's important. I went into my district meetings listening and wanted to hear from their concerns. I even asked my colleagues. I wanted to hear the concerns of people in their district as well. And I think it's important. So I want to commend the administration for going out into the districts and getting that information. I think it's very challenging when you're trying to work with 7 councils as well as the community to try to figure out. But I would like to commend them. But I believe that that third party kind of just bring a more, make people feel, you know, at trust. You know, they want to trust and make sure everything is done right. So I think bringing a third party in will help. I think we need to focus on redistricting. I think that's the thing right now that we need to focus on. It's hard to move to annexation if we don't get this correct. And I believe we need to get this correct first with redistricting and make sure we do it the right way. And so going forward, everything else will fall into place. And I believe if we do that, then everything else, people will trust the administration, the city council, making sure that we're doing it the right way. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Mr. Jones.
Heard the word fair a lot over the last month. I want to make sure we all understand what the definition of that is. Fair means is defined as in accordance with rules or standards, without cheating or trying to achieve unjust advantage, marked by impartiality and honesty, free from self-interest, prejudice, or favoritism. One of the things that strikes me every time I sit in this chair and every discussion we have is the word leadership. We were elected to lead this city, not divide it, to move it forward. Leaders work to gain consensus to move forwards towards a common goal, to advance or progress to a solution. Leaders deal in facts, logic, reasoning, not predetermined agendas. Leaders strive for advancing people and not personal positions or do things for power. Heard a lot about 2.8 today. I look at 2.8 and I look at the definition of fair and I wonder how that is not a fair layout of where we are in the city. 3 districts, 1, 2, and 3 are packed. Voting age population, District 1, 68.91%. The average, 49% in the city. District 2, 62.82%. The average, 49%. District 3, 69.83%. The 2 districts that are packed, 4. The white voting age population, 59%. And then my district is 64.96%. Every one of those districts are not fair. You want fair? Let's go fair. Let's go 49% voting age population in 7 districts. If you want fair, let's go fair. I'm ready. I'm ready for District 6 to be 49% black voting age today. I got no issues with that at all. We have 4 districts 4 districts, voting age population over 50%. That's what I heard speaker after speaker after speaker. When we first started this process, that was their desire. Last week, I heard Councilman Carroll say, we have turned the tide in the state with this plan, with having 4 minority, majority, voting age population districts. That's what this plan is. How is that unfair? How is that unjust? How is that not equal? Those are the facts. 49%. 49% voting age population black in this city is where we are today. If you break apart, I break 3 hours this last week dissecting these numbers. If you break this down, we are within a percent citywide of being right where the lines are drawn in this city with voting age population of 49%. We're right where we should be. And I would challenge any person that spoke today to take this to any judge in any court in this nation. And I guarantee you it will stand on its merit. This is leadership. This is fairness. This is justice. This is right. I've heard about racial polarization studies. Does anybody know what that is? It's where they look back on an election.
Ordinance.
It is where they look back on an election and they look at what percent demographic voted for another percent demographic based on who was on the ballot. There's no recommendations. There's no courses of action for how things should be done in the future. It is a study. And you know what? The numbers are going to change as soon as more personalities are going to be put on the ballot and voted next. That polarization study is going to change dramatically because people vote for the people on the ballot. It's that simple. That's been proven over and over and over again. So no, I don't want to spend $150,000 or $200,000. It's not going to lead us forward, and it just looks back, and it tells us nothing. Does not. The consultant timing is wrong. We are going to have annexation on this docket. It is going to come up. And these lines are going to have to be drawn again. That's the time that we bring in a consultant, and that's the time. There's no reason to do this once, spend $300,000, $400,000, and then have to do it again and spend another $300,000 or $400,000. But the foundational point is this plan that is in front of us today is a fair and just and legal plan that I will have anybody challenge in any court. It is right and just, and it's exactly what everybody at that mic the last month asked for when they came down here a month ago.
Mr. President.
Mr. Carroll.
I've got 2 sentences. A majority black city wants majority black representation. So vote for that. One more thing. In the words of this lady from Mississippi, the majority of the people in this city are black. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being held at the starting line and I can't run forward. I'm tired of being held in one spot with some wanting to take us back to a place that we've already been. We simply want to go forward. That's all. It's our time. If not now, when?
Mr. President.
Audience. In the beginning of the meeting, I stated to maintain decorum. There would be no undue applause and or public outcry allowed. Please follow council rules. Mr. Jones.
I'm a little bit confused because I think what I just heard my colleague say is what he wants is 4 black faces on this city council bench. That opportunity was available in August. District 7, 43% white. Ms. Gregory, Councilwoman Gregory, won by almost 80% of the vote. You had your opportunity. The opportunity is where?
Audience, wait a minute. This is a dignified, professional meeting. I'm going to ask that the counselors and also the audience please have respect towards each other. Okay? Mr. Jones.
The mayor, again, 44% voting age population white, 48% black. You went with 62% of the vote. It's about the people on the ballot. It's that simple. Even Reverend McFarland and I had this conversation last week. He said we had the wrong person on the ballot. What's that got to do with drawing lines? The lines are drawn. Again, last week, Councilman Carroll stated, we have turned the corner and we have done this right. We have 4 voting age population majority districts. How is that not moving this city forward? Challenge you to answer that question.
Mr. President.
Mr.
President.
No, I'm throwing that out
At this time,
based on all of the comments that have been made, I'm throwing that out as an open-ended question, and I'm challenging thought, not individuals.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to ask at this time that we will hold all comments until discussion, period. Mr.
President, if I might, we've been waiting for Mr. Hill for some time now. I would just like to ask that we allow him to continue speaking and finish off with the presentations before we move to the agenda.
Mr. Hill.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Words of Mr. Jones, speaking of turning the tide, I'm glad I wasn't kicking a game-winning field goal with that full timeout that y'all called right there, but I digress. To the citizens and stakeholders of Mobile, Reggie Hill, 1007 Center Street, and we are still in mourning. Good morning. I'm going to rise today to address the agenda items 60148, 60160, 02-007, 21-145, and 146. 60148. We must get out of this habit of placing Band-Aids on these diseases, expecting to cure our city from the inconveniences which hinder our public safety. I must say once again, just as last week, I find myself in agreement with Mr. Reynolds. We're taking a sledgehammer to a rooted task, which we've already invested millions of dollars in, as mentioned before. I would love to see the same level of enthusiasm towards eliminating unlawful traffic citations, much like the sundown law expressed by Pastor Tony Allgood today. Something I experienced personally, so I know exactly what that means. 60-160. Is there anything that will prevent this agenda item from being passed unanimously and upon approval, when should Murphy High School, my alma mater, anticipate receiving these funds? And I would love somebody to answer that for me. 02-007. There was a very interesting sentiment raised this morning from ideas suggesting that we pursue a third party to oversee the reinforcement. Now, while I love Ms. Goodell dearly, one of my favorite band parents, I must say that I do believe that we should reconsider that idea. And I'll give you this reason why. Number one is based on the how we support the present needs of Mobilians fiscally. I just don't think we have the money to invest in that. If we are lacking where we need to spend in other places about serious needs that would improve the quality of life, I don't think that's something to invest in. But I also raised this idea. Not too long ago, we invested in a third party to come in and tell us about Public Works Department. There was advising that was given there. And we went totally against that. Resources that were wasted. When we have people right here, this is what you're designed to do. This is why people select you, supposedly to do those types of things. We need to have more strength and confidence within ourselves to get that done. I will speak more about this as we go forward. 21-145, and we have a city council attorney. That's what he's supposed to litigate on. 21-145 and 146. I don't have the time to speak on the cyber piece, but I will say and ask this: has there been any information provided to the legislative body explaining how they plan to eradicate youth violence through this position? We saw organizations that are working on this that were overlooked from resources that actually mitigate these problems. They're not even given the opportunity to put a data-proven plan forward. But we're going to invest these types of resources into one individual, and we haven't seen any metrics of how it's going to work. Thank you for your
Mr. Baptiste, could you address that last issue that Mr. Hill had stated, and where we at, where it came from, et cetera, please?
And which issue would that be specifically?
Especially about the contract.
21-146.
The youth violence coordinator. As I've stated many times before, the youth violence coordinator is a component of Project Echo Stop. Employing one individual does not solve the issue of violent crime in our community. It is a cog in the wheel that we're using to address the problem. And Mr. Hill is well aware of that through our private conversations.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Madam Clerk.
Matthias Walker, and following Mr. Walker is Napoleon Bracey. And these are on 37-152, both.
Good morning, everybody. Well, barely. I'd like to thank y'all for your time. I'm here on behalf of Box Out LLC. So Box Out will be located on Dolphin
Just
Street.
give us your name and your address, please.
Sorry. Artias Walker, 267 Dolphin Street.
Thank you.
So Box Out is a container park that'll be located on Dolphin Street between the Joachim and Jackson Street. What we're looking to do is set up 5 different food containers that would allow some former food truck owners, some restaurant owners, some just aspiring chefs an opportunity to bring their cuisine to primetime downtown. Part of that is, so it is a very family-friendly type environment. If you walk past there today, you'll see hanging lights, you'll see food trucks. We paused on construction to allow some of our food truck vendors an opportunity to capitalize on the Mardi Gras crowds. But what we're also looking to do is be able to serve daiquiris and cocktails and whatnot to those responsible adults that like to enjoy themselves in the entertainment district. And so, speaking on behalf of Box Out, just asking for you guys supporting that.
Yeah, I'd like to say, I haven't heard anything negative from pre-council meeting.
No.
And if this go forward, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
This is you at 267 Dolphin Street?
Yes, sir. So 267 Dolphin Street is the former Weber building. We actually purchased two properties. So there used to be two different buildings on the adjacent empty lot. It used to be 263 and 265. All of that will be boxed out. 267 is the building. It'll service indoor dining and restrooms, with the food containers being located in the adjacent lots of what formerly was 263 and 265. There'll be the outdoor containers, allowing people to enjoy their meal outside, or sometimes, you know, Mobile is a very rainy city, so when it's inclement weather, they can come inside and still enjoy the numerous amenities of the park.
I was extremely involved in the Dolphin Street Revitalization Entertainment District in the corridor. I remember when there were only two places on there, Southside and Haley's. One was Parr and the other one was Haley, when they started those two in '93. I'm all in favor of your liquor license recommendation. I didn't have a problem with it. Hopefully the council and our colleagues realize the value of new businesses downtown, and I'm pretty sure they're all in favor of it also.
Mr. President.
Mr. Jones.
I just want to say congratulations on your vision and your motivation to do this. It's in a great location. It's a neat niche, and I think we'll do well. And the design concept is in keeping with the great historic area down there as well. You've done a great job with that. So thank you for the vision that you've got of bringing that business downtown. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. President.
Ms. Gregory.
I just want to add my congratulations as well. I remember when the idea was first brought to the mayor by Representative Bracy, bringing you to the attention of the mayor and his staff about what you wanted to do, and that's a great creative way to continue developing downtown and bringing new ways of entertainment and to the city. So just thank you for that. It is great vision, and Napoleon, it's always good to see you as well. Thank you for doing this.
Mr. President.
Mr. Penn.
Again, I want to congratulate you as well. I'm excited about my family love coming downtown. So now we got another spot where I can take my kids, because, you know, they like to eat at different places. And so they give them an opportunity to choose, and that's amazing. So thank you for Box Out for coming to downtown and thinking out the box.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and good morning as well to the council president, the city council, to the mayor. I'm Napoleon Bracy. I'm here today representing 267 along with my nephew. We're the owners of Box Out, and we just want to just personally thank you all for your support, and we look forward to helping grow the entertainment area in downtown Mobile. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you all.
Resolutions held over. 21138. Are there any objections to any of these before we start? Okay. 21138. Authorized.
I've got yes, 60-148.
Okay. I'll take that one separate. 21138. Authorized contract amendment with Southern Earth Sciences for annual landfill sampling requirements for Bates C and D landfill and Hickory Street landfills. 08139, approved purchase order to Postmark for annual business license renewal, print, and mailing. 08140, approved purchase order to SHI International for 1-year security awareness training. 08141, approved purchase order to Tech Vendor for annual renewal of recognition software cyber division. 08142, approved purchase order to ProTech Video for annual software and storage license. 08143 and 144 are approving item-based bids for printing of banners, posters, postcards, corrugated plastic sheet signs. 21145, authorized contract with, and 146 are authorizing contracts with Danielle Baca and Joshua Jones as Cyber Specialist and Youth Violence Prevention Coordinator. 31147, authorized grant agreement with the State of Alabama Department of Transportation to accept and receive monies from the Transportation Alternatives Program for implementation of the Mobile Greenway Initiative 3 Mile Creek Greenway Trail, Segment 1. 6149, authorized release of claims and settlement agreement.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
6148, requests the Mobile County Legislative Delegation to propose legislation to grant the City of Mobile authority to pass an ordinance to enforce traffic violations through the use of photographic evidence and issuance of civil fines.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds?
I cannot support this and will not support this. This is a thin edge of the wedge getting into our system to allow for something that I believe is not necessary at this point. I think it's a bit premature to think that we cannot resolve the issue that's been raised as this has been put forward to fix without putting in cameras at our stoplights. I think before we even breach the subject of considering taking away our citizens' rights, we ought to look to our engineers. We should be evaluating yellow light times. We should be evaluating the dilemma zone at every single stoplight before we start giving away the rights of our citizens. I've read study after study that this is not always an effective way of doing this. The problem that's been forward is crashes at intersections. Well, turns out there's plenty of studies out there that show as you start penalizing folks at our intersections by the installation of cameras, you actually see an increase in rear-end collisions. People are so scared to get a ticket that they now slam on brakes and people behind them are hitting them. And I can't support this, and although my colleagues have raised it, that this is just asking the legislature to give us the opportunity to prepare an ordinance. This is urging the legislature to allow us to create an ordinance. And if you don't know if you're against it or not, then I would ask that you vote this down today and stand with me to protect the rights of our citizens.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dave?
Traffic accidents in this country kill tens of thousands of individuals every single year and injure millions. In urban areas, by far the most likely location for an accident is at a traffic intersection. 3 times as many accidents happen within 200 feet of an intersection than at any other distance. Over 400 U.S. cities, including nearly 2/3 of the 50 most populous cities, have employed electronic monitoring programs in order to enforce traffic laws of intersections. Now, this technology has been employed very, very successfully in a number of cities across the country and in the United States and in Alabama. Montgomery installed such a system some time ago and says that its system has reduced intersection collisions by more than 50% and more than 80% in one instance. And very, very importantly, the Alabama Supreme Court recently held that Montgomery's red light camera law is completely constitutional. So, I think it's appropriate that the City of Mobile ask our legislative delegation to introduce a legislation in the state legislature which would allow us to implement this technology if we so choose. We can't do it without legislative authorization. So the first step is talk to the legislative delegation. They decide whether they're going to support it. If they do, it goes to the legislature. They decide whether they're going to support it. And if all that happens and we get authorization, then we decide after we get the authorization if we're going to do it, how we're going to implement it. So this is simply a resolution asking the legislative delegation to put forward authorization in the legislature. I fully support it. I think it's something we ought to do. I think it ends up being another tool in our tool basket to address what is a serious public safety hazard. Thank you,
Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
I failed to mention in my earlier comments that this hands over the rights of our citizens to a private company, allows a private company to decide how our laws are going to be enforced. When that private company's sole purpose, as is most, if not any, private company, to drive profits. So if their job is to go out and drive profits, and we hand our rights as citizens over to these private companies, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to use these rights that they've gained to drive their profits, issue more citations to everyone in our city. And sorry I failed to mention that on the front end. That's a big one. So a vote in favor of this today is a vote to start that process to allow private companies to take our rights and use them for their financial gain.
Mr. President.
Mr. Joel Davis.
I don't know why I have to keep saying this. We're not saying today how we're going to implement this technology. We're not saying today how and if we're going to implement this technology. We may hire a private firm. We may not hire a private firm. Whether we do or not, we'll come back, if we're authorized to do it, we'll come back before this body at some point in the future. So the allegation that we're turning over the enforcement of the law to a private company is incorrect. That's not what we're doing today.
Mr. President.
Mr. Penn.
Councilmember Reynolds makes some valid points. It was some of my concerns I mentioned last week about it, but I agree with Councilman Davis that we're not making a decision on how we're going to implement it today. It's just stating that they give us an opportunity to do some more research. We're not implementing the ordinance at this moment, but it gives us the opportunity to do research, and when that happens, then we can see, we'll be prepared if we need to move forward. So if this passes today, nothing is implemented. It's just giving us an opportunity to use any tools to move forward.
Mr. Carroll.
I too agree with Councilmember Reynolds on the issues, but I'm also in agreement with an opportunity to study it and review it. I don't mind it going to Montgomery for a legislative action that allows us. But however, when it comes back, if we choose to go in whatever method that we do, I'll have quite a few comments to make at that time. But right now, I don't mind it going to Montgomery for legislative action to give us opportunity. Now, the next question is once we have the opportunity, can anyone else push this forward other than the council? And I'm asking Chris Aldridge.
Well, the mayor could put an ordinance on the agenda, just like y'all can.
But it would have
a contract to do this, yeah.
But the council would have the ultimate say so with
right. It's got to be an ordinance passed by the council.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. Jones.
The whole reason we're having this line of discussion is because there is a problem. The problem is we have folks that blatantly violate the law and run red lights and put other people's lives at danger. We've probably all, I know I've seen it personally. Going home one night, I watched a Toyota Tundra run through Airport and University, hit a car and flipped. Life flight came in. This morning, Dauphin Street at I-65, a red pickup truck, license plate ILS-TU8, LSU tag, ran a red light. Red light was red for 5 seconds, had nothing to do with red, an orange light, yellow light. That red light was red and people were stopped, and he blew through it, almost hit a four-door sedan. Broad Street, this morning, same scenario. Folks stopped at a red light, 4 or 5 seconds, a semi-truck rolls through the intersection, almost T-bones a sedan. It would have caused death. Never slowed down once. There's the problem. We are trying to find a solution to that problem. This is a start. This body holds a lot of authorities when it comes to this, if the legislation will approve it. We'll outline the fines. We'll outline where they're located. We will outline the processes and procedures for that. And I think that discussion can be had at this time, but we've got to start the process because the threat to everyone in the city is there when we have folks that take it upon themselves to put the law in their own hands and violate that law.
Any other council members?
Mr. President, one last comment.
Mr. Reynolds?
This program works so good in the city of Houston, Texas, that they have now, by referendum, removed that very program. The citizens said, look, we're not wanting to give up our rights. We're not seeing the improvement. There's data out there. We don't need to ask the state legislature for us to read. We read the data. It's already there. You can read it right now and come to a conclusion that is as certain as I am giving it to you today. And that is, while you're trading T-bones, you're just picking them up in rear-end collisions. What did we solve? We didn't solve anything is the answer. So, again, one last time, I ask that you vote it down.
Any other council members? And I would like to say, I'd like to commend Councilman Days for bringing this before us, and I join in as a sponsor because it's something that's, really needed in our community. People speeding constantly, and you have accidents, between accidents could, critical to lead to losing lives. And there has been some success stories out there from Miami, New Orleans, and Los Angeles, that has been successful in doing this cameras project. But again, this is something I do support because constantly we see speeders throughout our community. All officers are already tied up in assistance that they need, and especially help to save lives. And yes, the Undertaker did say that. That's what we know we need to do. And I think this is a great thing for our community. Another discussion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Gregory.
I did just want to say that I support this as well. I, too, am a sponsor. And one thing that I think you learn when you live in the city of Mobile is when the light turns green, you don't go. You sit, you wait, you make sure nobody is coming because otherwise you could find yourself in a situation as Councilmember Jones has described. So I think it is important that we at least get the legislature to allow us to begin moving forward with something like this. Then when we get that, then we can begin looking at how it should be implemented, who does the work, all of those questions that have come up. This is not a stamp of approval from the legislature to automatically start doing something. It is to give us the ability to do this if we so choose and how we will do it. So again, it's been talked about another tool in the toolbox. Yeah, that's what this is. We're down 111 police officers. How are they supposed to monitor every intersection? All of these deadly intersections that we have in the city of Mobile, they can't. So this is a way to help. And if it's what happened in the city of Houston, I think there are other examples where these things have worked beautifully, but we'll keep an eye on it, see what happens, see if it works. As Mr. Dave said last week, we might only implement if the council so chooses and the administration agrees to put them up at just a couple of 3 intersections, the deadliest intersections that we already know exist. So again, I'm supportive of this and look forward to sending it on to the legislative delegation to ask them to allow us to begin.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
No.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
6-1. Passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance is being introduced 02007 through 64009.
For council rules, these ordinances will lay over for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced 37152 through 6160.
Move to waive the rules for immediate consideration of these resolutions.
Second.
Which one?
Ms. Mauber. Hey, Mr. President, I'd like to speak on reapportionment. I thought there'd be an opportunity before all of our pastors leave. I'd like to.
No, we're going to wait to discussion. The announcement, excuse me.
I suspect you'll have another opportunity.
Next week, yeah.
Maybe next week as well.
Madam Clerk.
We didn't vote.
We need to vote on waiving the rules, correct?
There's a motion. Second, in discussion.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Mr. Reynolds.
All right, on these items on waiving this rule, I'd like to make my concerns known. I've reserved my comment just for everybody until there's been something before us. And now there is something before us that I feel confident that I can comment on. Up to this point, all the discussion's really been on the executive branch. We've been waiting on them to put a plan before us.
Wait. This is a vote on whether to waive the rule.
Yeah, well, I'm considering whether or not to waive the rule or not.
It's on
On the
consent.
consent resolution? Annexation's not the one we're waiving the rule on.
Yeah,
I mean, redistricting's not what we're waiving the rule on.
yeah, this resolution's not
Understood.
on there today.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk.
Okay, Mr. Carroll, are we taking 4157 separate? You holding that over 60 days?
Norman Street, are we going to vote on that? Mr. Carroll, are we holding this or
Okay.
what? We're tabling it?
Table for 60 days. Yeah.
Hold over.
Oh, okay.
Hold it over for 60.
Okay. 37, 152, 153, and 154 are recommending approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special retail license to Box Out on Dolphin Street, for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license to West Food Bar on St. Michael Street, and for issuance of a retail beer table wine on off-premises license to Piggly Wiggly on Moffett Road. 40, 155, 156, 158 are declaring the structures at 1057 State Street, 1481 John H. Campbell Senior Way, 1110 Gammon Circle West, public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 60, 159, and 160 are determining appropriations to the Providence Foundation Festival of Flowers and Murphy High School serve a public purpose and approve payment.
So moved.
Second.
We're properly moving second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
40, 157 declare the structure at 212 Norman Street a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Moved. Second.
We're properly moving second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Clerk.
Resolutions being introduced 01161 through 60173.
Per council rules, these will lay over for 1 week.
So
We're going to take 6173 today, right?
No, just lay it over.
Are we taking that today? I thought we were laying it over.
Lay it over.
All right. Okay. Call for public hearings. 41171. Call for public hearing to vacate a portion of public street and right-of-way situated at the southwest corner of the intersection of Congress Street and North Cedar Street, scheduled March 22nd. 41172. Call for public hearing to rezone property located at 4230 Halls Mill Road from B3 to I1, scheduled March 15th.
So second.
Properly moving second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is called.
Announcements.
District 6.
Before we go to announcements, please. Please.
Go ahead.
There is an issue at Ladd Stadium. We have a bunch of containers out there.
This should be reserved for announcements
This
as
is
well,
announcements.
Mr.
You can
Carroll.
do
This is
announcements.
announcement.
He called on Mr.
But
Jones.
this is a question directly. Had you already called on somebody?
Yeah, I did call.
Oh, good. I was asking you, could I go?
Thank you, Mr. President. The only announcement I have, tomorrow at 10 at the Connie Hudson Center, we'll be doing a ribbon cutting to open the cafeteria back up. They have been serving meals for about a week. Had a lot of positive feedback already. Looking forward to formally opening that up. Hope to see you there. Thanks.
What time is that? 10 o'clock.
District 2, Councilman William.
Thank you. First, there was a contract given to, I guess, a company that was loading and unloading containers from the state docks. They have been loading and unloading at Ladd Stadium next to several houses where I have been getting numerous complaints on. I was told that that contract was going to end on February 15th. First of all, the contract, nobody in the community was notified that we're going to have ongoing noise and slight rattling of their properties next door to them. Secondly, no one even told me. I had to start inquiring what was going on to find out that it was a Walmart contract, I believe, with containers and loading in places of storage. However, today, this morning, I'm told that the contract has been extended to March 16th without notification to the community or to the people that live next door to it, and it's a noise issue, and the people are upset. So somehow or another, I think that we need to get those containers either moved from beside these people's houses where all the noise is rattling and banging and going on constantly. I understand it's even during the hours of the night, and moved to the very rear of Last Stadium if we're going to do that, where it doesn't affect anybody's property or noise. And the other thing is we're having some complaints up and down Virginia Street from several of the residents on the street. I know you guys are aware of it because you've seen my emails on it, but we need to accommodate the homeowners over there. Last Stadium was not the place where we're supposed to be loading and offloading containers constantly 24 hours a day. So if I could have an answer on that before my announcements, I would really appreciate it. An answer. One, the contract was extended to March 16th. Nobody was aware of that. I just found that out this morning. It was supposed to have ended today, February 15th, but however, it's continuing. So the residents are upset. They're calling me constantly. There's ongoing noise. Their properties are shaking. We need to do something about it.
Is that a city contract or is that the board contract? I think that's a Ladd Stadium.
Mr. President, I can help. So real quickly, so we just found out this morning as well that it was extended, but Chief of Staff and I can probably get with the councilman to assist in the things he's asking about, because that'll have to be coordinated with Ladd, because it is not a city contract.
So
that
the board awarded the contract, is what you're saying.
I don't know that. What I do know is that the city didn't award, but we did coordinate with them. But we can talk. We can get with you and talk to Mr. Michigan. But the city didn't award any contract.
All right, well, let's make some people happy over there because evidently it's an ongoing problem and they continue to call. And we need to make some people happy. Now, during the announcements periods, and everyone knows that District 2 has a district meeting tonight at the Harmon Park Recreation Center starting at 6 o'clock. Talk about blight properties in the land bank and how residents can obtain property from the city and return those properties back to the tax rolls. We're also talking about paving, resurfacing, and we're going to talk about redistricting there tonight too, with a brief presentation from Anitra Henderson. I keep wanting to say Bill, but Anitra Henderson, and where we are currently with redistricting and how it's lined up, and crime also in the area. I hope everyone can attend. The meeting is open to everyone, including all other council members if you choose to come. District 2 is the heart of our city where everything happens, and I'm truly transparent in what we do in District 2. On March 15th, we'll be going to the Plateau Community Center, which is the Hope Center. There's been a major item out there in rezoning that we've been trying to address for a while. We will start addressing that on March 15th, and that is the old Ladd Supply property that's owned by Chippewa Lakes. Mr. President, that is the end of my announcement.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes, I hate that I had to wait till announcements to say my piece. Now it looks like most everyone's left here. I made them known to my colleagues and everyone that was paying attention in the pre-council meeting, but I've reserved comment on redistricting until something was before us. Thought I was going to have the opportunity to speak on that today during the agenda item. But I've reserved my comments particularly because there's really been nothing before us about this. All this discussion has been happening with the executive branch of our government. We've been waiting on the plan from the mayor to come forward. He put it forward last Thursday. It's now on our agenda today. And now the discussion needs to start happening amongst the legislative body of this city of what the citizens of Mobile want it to be from their perspective. I have reviewed all the plans. I was involved in discussion trying to get the executive branch to, preserve District 4 in the best way they could, and they had to push west and push population out to the west, which meant that I and the citizens of District 4, we lost a couple of neighborhoods but gained a couple of neighborhoods. And this plan overall is a very good plan for the citizens of District 4. The executive branch and Director Barber has really threaded the needle on this, and it's great. But having said all that, I don't want to do this again. I want to do it one time. And In order to do it one time, that means we need to take up annexation along with this. And I can vote with my colleagues, no matter what their racial makeup is or what their desires are. A lot of what their concerns align with mine and the citizens of District 4 as a whole. We now have the legislative ability amongst us to resolve those issues that exist. And I suggest we get it done. Let's get it done one time. We shouldn't have to get it done, take up annexation, have the big discussion on annexation, take a vote if the people wish to have that, and then do this all over again. We can get it straight right now. All of us. We can. With the help of everyone who's been speaking on this over the past several weeks. I'm sure other people would like to add to the discussion, but I cannot have community meetings with my citizens, phone call after phone call after phone call, while we're discussing redistricting. The only thing they want to talk about is annexation. And why are we going to do it twice? I can't just ignore that, ignore what they're asking me, ignore what they're telling me. They want it done in a practical, sensible way. And in my opinion, I think they're right. A practical, sensible way that is considerate of the concerns raised by my colleagues, the concerns raised by all the various citizens that came forward to speak on behalf of it. If we want to hire a consultant, well, let's hire a consultant if that's what the council desires. But I will not vote in favor of hiring a consultant or not hiring a consultant or doing anything to address this current plan if it does not include annexation, because that's what the citizens want us to do, is to get it done one time. Thank you.
District 1, Councilman Finn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a couple of announcements. We will have a meeting at Mobile Infirmary in the Chandler Auditorium on February the 23rd at 7 p.m. regarding the PUD development on Stanton Road. So I'm asking our District 1. We also will be sending letters out as well. I'm also planning on having a community meeting on March the 8th at the Ashland Church. More information, you also will receive a postcard about all our meeting dates going forward for District 1. And I also been receiving a lot of phone calls about speeding in our community, in our neighborhood. And so one of the things that I did was create these signs right here. So we have some signs, slow down, children, and pets at play. If you would like a sign, you can call 251-208-7441. And that's something we're going to give out to people in our community in District 1. Thank you, Mr. President.
District 5, Councilman Dave.
Mr. President, I think we've been here long enough today. I don't have any announcements.
Our Vice President, Gina Gregory.
So I'll make mine quickly then. Drainage work on the ditch that runs between Waringwood and Fontaine in Hillsdale is under repair. It's something that has been on the books for a while now, and I'm glad to see that work is underway there. It is the beginning. It is not the end, so we will continue work on this particular ditch. February 22nd, we have the Public Safety Committee meeting over at police headquarters. Just remember that will be next week. They are planning to give us lunch. Hopefully it will not be dinner, given what is on the agenda next week, but just keep that on your calendar that the Public Safety Committee meeting is planning to meet next Tuesday after council at police headquarters. March 2nd, as we mentioned earlier, will be another Public Safety Committee meeting to take up the urban camping ordinance. And again, if you want any information from Ms. Henderson on the meetings that she has already held with a number of the homeless or the organizations who work with homeless people, she will be more than happy to provide that. And she's going to send it to us, but if anybody listening or in the audience would like it, she will be more than happy to provide that to you as well. And that is all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Gregory. Last week and the week before, I was put some emphasis on Black history. As we know, February is Black History Month. The first Tuesday in February, I highlighted Dr. Yvonne Kennedy. Last week, I highlighted John L. DeFleur. And this week, I would like to highlight the first Black to lead the Marine Riflemen to come back, and also the first African American to rank general from, the U.S. Marine Infantry, which is Mr. Gary Cooper, General Gary Cooper. His remarkable journey on the service to the United States in 1958 while serving in Vietnam in 1966. Cooper became the first African-American Marine Corps officer to lead an infantry company to combat. After serving as active duty Marine Corps officers from 1958 through 1970, he joined the Marine Corps Reserve in 1971 and became the first African-American to command a Marine Reserve unit. Cooper was born on October 2nd, 1936 in Lafayette, Louisiana, but he grew up in the down the bay section of Mobile, Alabama. He attended Most Pure Heart of Mary School, where he graduated in 1954. After graduating, he enrolled at the University of Notre Dame and was the only 3 African American in his class, 1958 class of 1,500. After college, while at college, he joined the Reserve Officer Training Corps. He graduated with a degree in finance and also became the second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. He was promoted to the first lieutenant and rose to captain in 1963. Cooper later reached the rank of Major General and earned a Distinguished Service Medal, 2 Purple Hearts, and the Republican of Vietnam Cross with a palm, silver and bronze stars. In 1989, President George Bush nominated and the Senate confirmed Cooper as the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Manpower, Reserves Affairs, Insulation, and Environment. In 1976, he co-founded Commonwealth National Bank in Mobile, Alabama, the first minority-owned and operated bank in Alabama. Along with LaFleur, Cooper was elected in the House of Representatives from Mobile since the Reconstruction. In 1978, Alabama Governor George Wallace appointed Cooper Commissioner of Alabama State Department of Human Resources. Today, the Department of the Navy has recognized Mr. Cooper as a businessman and a civic leader as a historic path breaker. Cooper was honored by the Navy recently by a tribute to the African American leadership. A permanent exhibit in the Pentagon includes a section honoring Cooper and 10 other African Americans who have broke the racial barriers in the Marine Corps. A look of the list of General Cooper's accomplishments easily shows that he has paved the way for others. And again, this is a privilege for us to still have Mr. Cooper in our presence as today. The first 2 I read, they are now deceased, but Mr. Cooper is still living. And my hats is off to Mr. Gary Cooper for all the hard work that you had given, not just to show us in Mobile, but the United States and the world at large. Also, on tomorrow, there will be a African American Black History Month program at the Senior Center on DIP. We have one of the African town ancestors, Mrs. Wood. She will do a presentation at 10 o'clock a.m., inviting all of the seniors to please come out on tomorrow for this great time that we will have tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. Again, that will be held at the Sales Center off of DIP on the Parkway. We have any other announcements from this council? Anything from the administration? Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Properly moved in second. In discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Meeting